The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor, and my sister's voice echoed through her new living room. I bought this with my own money, unlike some people. Her eyes locked onto mine. 60 people turned to stare at me like I was some kind of charity case. That's when I saw him walk through the front door. The realtor, holding a manila envelope with my name on it. If you want the full truth about what happened next, hit like so this story reaches more people. My name is Caroline Mitchell, and I'm 32 years old. For the past decade, I've worked as a commercial property manager in Chicago, the kind of job where you're invisible until something goes wrong. My sister Victoria is 5 years younger than me, works in social media marketing, and has spent her entire adult life making sure everyone knows she's the successful one in the family. Our parents died in a car accident when I was 23, and Victoria was 18. They left us their house in the suburbs and about $200,000 in combined savings and life insurance. I was fresh out of college with a business degree and no real experience. Victoria was heading to university. I made a decision that day that would define the next 9 years of my life. I told Victoria to take her share, $100,000, for school, living expenses, whatever she needed. I sold our childhood home and invested my half into a commercial property that needed renovation. It was a risk, but I was young and stupid enough to believe in myself. The property was a disaster. It took 3 years to renovate, and I lived in a studio apartment that barely had room for a bed. I ate ramen most nights. I wore the same 5 outfits to work on rotation. I didn't date, didn't vacation, didn't do anything except work my day job and spend every evening and weekend managing contractors, dealing with permits, and learning the commercial real estate business from the ground up. Victoria graduated, got her marketing job, and started posting pictures of herself at rooftop bars, wearing designer clothes, traveling to Cabo and Miami. She never asked how I was doing, never offered to help. I told myself it didn't matter. She was young, she deserved to enjoy her 20s. By the time I was 29, my commercial property was fully leased. I had steady income. I'd saved enough to buy a second property, then a third. I lived modestly, invested aggressively, and kept my head down. Victoria never knew the details of my finances. I never told her. Why would I? She was busy building her Instagram following and dating guys who drove BMWs. Then, 6 months ago, she called me crying. She'd been renting an apartment in downtown Chicago for years, and she was tired of throwing money away on rent. She wanted to buy a house, but didn't have enough saved for a down payment. Could I help her find something? I'm her sister. Of course I said yes. Comment. Truth. If you can already see where this is going. That's when everything started to unravel. Victoria sent me her budget. $300,000 maximum. She had about $40,000 saved for a down payment, which meant she needed to find something affordable in the Chicago suburbs where she could commute to her downtown office. I spent 3 weeks searching. I looked at every listing in her price range, scheduled viewings, even negotiated with sellers on her behalf. But Victoria rejected everything. Too small, wrong neighborhood, ugly kitchen, no character, not Instagram worthy enough. After the 15th rejection, she said something that should have been a red flag. Caroline, you have properties. Can't you just help me more? You know, like really help me? I asked what she meant. I don't know, maybe cosign? Or like, invest in it with me? We're family. I told her I'd think about it. 2 days later, I found the perfect property. It was a beautiful 3-bedroom craftsman-style house in Oak Park, walking distance to shops and restaurants, hardwood floors, updated kitchen, a backyard with mature trees. The asking price was $320,000, slightly above her budget but negotiable. I scheduled a viewing. Victoria fell in love instantly. She took 40 pictures in the first 10 minutes. She was already planning where her furniture would go, what color she'd paint the accent wall, how many followers she'd gain when she posted her housewarming party. But there was a problem. The seller had multiple offers, cash offers. Victoria's financing couldn't compete. She cried in my car after we left. Real tears. Caroline, this is the one. This is my dream house. I'll never find anything like this again. I told her I'd make some calls. That night, I did something I thought I'd regret. I made an all-cash offer on the house using my business account. $315,000. The seller accepted within 24 hours. When I told Victoria, she screamed with joy. "You're buying it for me? Oh my God, Caroline, you're the best sister in the world." I clarified. I wasn't buying it for her. I was buying it, and she would pay me rent to own. We'd draw up a contract. She'd make monthly payments that would cover the mortgage, taxes, and insurance I'd taken out on the property, plus a little extra that would build toward her eventually purchasing it from me. In 5 years, if she kept up with payments, I'd transfer the deed to her name. She'd own it outright. She agreed immediately. "Yes, perfect. Whatever you think is fair. You're so smart with this stuff." We signed the papers the next week. I bought the house. My name went on the deed. Victoria moved in 2 weeks later. The contract I drew up was simple: $2,000 per month for 5 years. At the end, she'd have paid into enough equity that I'd transfer ownership to her for a nominal fee. Total cost to her would be about $120,000 for a house worth $315,000. It was generous. It was family. Type yes if you think I was being too nice. She signed it without reading it. That should have been my second red flag. For the first 3 months, everything was perfect. Victoria posted pictures of her new house constantly. She called it my place and my home. She invited friends over for wine nights and dinner parties. She painted the living room a trendy sage green. She bought expensive furniture and charged it to credit cards. Her Instagram captions were always some variation of, "So grateful for this space I've created," and "proof that hard work pays off," and "living my best life in my house." I never corrected her. Why would I? Technically, she was living there, and in 5 years, it would be hers. I was happy she was happy. The rent payments came like clockwork. $2,000 first of every month. I deposited them into the property account and paid the monthly mortgage, insurance, and taxes. Everything was running smoothly. Then month 4 happened. Victoria called me on the 2nd of the month. "Hey, so I'm going to be a few days late on this month's payment. I had to buy a new couch, and it was more expensive than I thought." I said, "Fine, a few days wasn't a problem." The payment came 12 days late. Month 5, she was late again. This time, by 18 days. Her excuse was that she'd gone to Miami for a work conference and expenses had piled up. I pulled up her Instagram. She'd posted 23 pictures from Miami. None of them looked like a work conference. They all looked like vacation. I called her. "Victoria, we need to talk about the payment schedule." She got defensive immediately. "God, Caroline, I'm literally 3 weeks late one time. It's not like I'm not paying you. Why are you being so uptight about this?" I explained that the mortgage was due on the 1st. When she paid late, I had to cover it from my own accounts, which disrupted my cash flow for other properties. She scoffed. "You have money. What's the big deal?" That's when I heard it for the first time. The entitlement. The assumption that my money existed to cushion her irresponsibility. I told her late payments couldn't continue. She needed to pay on time or we'd need to revisit the arrangement. She apologized. Said it wouldn't happen again. Promised she'd set up automatic payment. She didn't. Month 6. The payment was 23 days late. Month 7. It didn't come until the 28th. By month 8, I stopped expecting it on time. But the Instagram posts continued. Victoria at expensive restaurants. Victoria showing off new clothes. Victoria posing in her kitchen with a caption about building wealth through homeownership. The comments on her posts were full of praise. "You're such an inspiration." Goals. "How did you afford such a beautiful house?" Her response was always the same. "Hard work and saving. You can do it too if you prioritize." Never once did she mention that I'd bought the house, that I owned it, that she was essentially renting from her sister under extraordinarily generous terms. Comment. Exposed if you're starting to see the real problem here. I should have confronted her then. I should have enforced the contract. But she was my little sister, and I wanted to believe she'd figure it out. That was my biggest mistake. Month 9, Victoria didn't pay at all. I called her on the 5th. She didn't answer. I texted. Nothing. I called again on the 10th. She finally responded, "Caroline, I'm dealing with some stuff right now. Can we talk about this later?" I asked when later was. She said she'd call me back. She didn't. On the 15th, I drove to the house. Her car was in the driveway. Lights were on inside. I knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again. I could hear music playing. I called her phone while standing on the porch. I watched through the front window as she looked at her phone, saw my name, and declined the call. I stood there for 10 minutes, knocking periodically. She never opened the door. I went home and sent her an email. "Victoria, you're now 15 days late on rent. Per our contract, if payment is more than 30 days late, I have the right to begin eviction proceedings. I don't want to do that. Please call me so we can resolve this." She responded 3 hours later. "You're threatening to evict me? Are you serious right now? I'm your sister." Wow, Caroline. Just wow. No explanation for why she hadn't paid. No acknowledgement that she was breaking our agreement. Just outrage that I dared to mention consequences. I tried calling our Aunt Linda, our only close family, to mediate. Aunt Linda said she'd talk to Victoria, but a week later she called me back. "Caroline, honey, Victoria says you're harassing her about money. She says she's going through a hard time and you're being unreasonable." I asked if Victoria mentioned that she hadn't paid rent in over a month. Aunt Linda paused. "She said she pays you. She said you're just mad because she won't give you extra." Extra. I'd bought a $300,000 house for her, and she was telling people I wanted extra. I pulled out the contract and took photos of it. I sent them to Aunt Linda with a detailed breakdown: what I'd paid, what Victoria had agreed to pay, and what she actually owed me. Aunt Linda called back 30 minutes later. "Oh my God. Caroline, I had no idea. She told me you were splitting the house 50-50 and that you were trying to charge her more than her share." That's when I realized Victoria wasn't just irresponsible. She was lying. Actively lying to family about our arrangement. Aunt Linda offered to talk to her again. I said no. This was between me and Victoria now. Month 10. Still no payment. I sent a formal notice to her. 30-day notice to pay rent or vacate the property. It was required by law before I could file for eviction. I sent it via certified mail so she couldn't claim she never received it. She signed for it on a Tuesday afternoon. That Friday, she sent a mass text to our entire extended family. "Just so everyone knows, my sister is trying to kick me out of my house because she's jealous that I'm doing well. Please keep me in your thoughts during this difficult time. Share this video so people understand what family betrayal really looks like." My phone exploded with messages. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were texting me. "How could you do this to Victoria? She's your sister. Family is supposed to support each other." I responded to every single one with the same message. "Victoria doesn't own that house. I do. She hasn't paid me rent in 2 months. I have a signed contract. Ask her to show you the deed." Nobody asked her to show them the deed. The narrative Victoria had created was too compelling. Successful younger sister buys dream house through hard work. Jealous older sister tries to take it away. It fit perfectly into the victim story she'd been crafting on social media for months. Her Instagram post that weekend had a picture of her sitting on her porch steps, looking sad, with a caption: "Sometimes the people closest to you will try to dim your light because they can't handle your shine." I'm heartbroken, but I won't let negativity stop me from living my truth. This is my home, and I'm not going anywhere. #stay strong, #know your worth. 783 likes, 212 comments of support. I watched it climb in real time, each comment another person believing her version of reality. That's when I made a decision. I hired a lawyer, not a friend, not someone cheap. I hired Margaret Chen, one of the most expensive and most ruthless eviction attorneys in Chicago. She charged $400 an hour. I didn't care. Margaret reviewed my contract and the deed. She smiled. "This is the most straightforward case I've seen in 5 years. She has no legal standing whatsoever. We'll file for eviction based on non-payment." "How long has she been there?" 10 months. "How much does she owe you?" I did the math. $20,000 in missed or late payments, plus I've been covering the full mortgage out of pocket. Total. I'm out. About $33,000. Margaret nodded. We'll file for eviction and include a civil suit for back rent. When's the next rent payment? 4 days. Does she have any ownership documentation? Just a contract that explicitly states I own the property and she's renting to own with potential transfer after 5 years of on-time payments, which she's violated. Margaret leaned back in her chair. Caroline, I want you to understand something. When we file this, your sister is going to escalate. She's going to make you look like the villain publicly. Can you handle that? I thought about the text messages, the Instagram post, the cousins who believed I was jealous. I thought about 10 months of stress, of covering her mortgage while she bought designer furniture, of being called unreasonable while she lied to our family. Yes, I said. I can handle it. We filed the eviction notice on a Thursday. Per Illinois law, Victoria had 5 days to pay all back rent or vacate. If she didn't, we'd go to court. I didn't tell anyone we'd filed. I wanted Victoria to be surprised. The sheriff delivered the official eviction notice to her door on Friday morning. Type justice if you think she deserved what came next. By Friday afternoon, my phone had 53 text messages, most of them from Victoria. The texts started coherent. Caroline, what the hell? An eviction notice. This is insane. Then escalated. You can't do this. I've been paying you. Then became desperate. Please call me. We can work this out. Don't do this. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I received a call from Margaret. Your sister's lawyer just contacted me. She has a lawyer already? Some guy named Derek Paulson works for a small firm that does tenant rights cases. He's claiming improper eviction procedures and questioning the validity of your contract. He wants to meet. What did you tell him? I told him we'd see him in court. But Caroline, he's going to argue that your contract constitutes a predatory lending arrangement, that you took advantage of your sister's lack of real estate knowledge, and that the eviction is retaliatory because she couldn't afford unfair terms. I felt my blood pressure spike. Every word of that is a lie. I know, and we'll prove it. But it means this is going to get uglier before it gets better. Are you prepared for that? I told her yes. That Saturday, Victoria posted again. A photo of the eviction notice, with identifying information strategically blurred. Caption: My sister is trying to steal my home using legal manipulation. She's using her money and connections to bully me out of a house I've paid for. This is what financial abuse looks like. I won't be silenced. #justice for victims #family betrayal #stand with me. This post got 1,200 likes. The comments were vicious. Sue her for everything. Contact the local news. You need to expose her. What kind of sister does this? 3 people tagged local news stations. Sunday morning, I got a call from a producer at WGN News asking if I'd comment on a story about sibling property disputes and family dynamics. I declined. Monday, Victoria's lawyer filed a motion to dismiss the eviction and a countersuit claiming breach of contract, emotional distress, and fraud. He argued that I'd promised her ownership, manipulated her into signing an unfair contract, and was now attempting to illegally seize property that was rightfully hers through equity investment. Margaret called it a desperate Hail Mary with no legal basis, but it meant we'd have to go to court. The hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks away. During those 3 weeks, Victoria did 3 things that showed me exactly who she'd become. First, she changed the locks on the house. Technically illegal since I owned the property, but she did it anyway. When Margaret informed her lawyer this was a violation, he claimed Victoria felt unsafe due to my threatening behavior. Second, she started a GoFundMe titled, "Help Me Fight My Sister's Greed." The description claimed I'd tricked her into signing a fraudulent contract and was now trying to steal her home after she'd invested everything into it. Within 1 week, she'd raised $8,000 from strangers. Third, she announced she was throwing a housewarming party, a celebration of her home and her success. If this shocked you, comment "unbelievable" below. The party was scheduled for Saturday, 2 days before our court hearing, and she invited everyone we knew. The invitation went out via Facebook event and Instagram story. Join me in celebrating my new home. Housewarming party Saturday, 6 p.m. Come see what hard work and determination can build. She invited 67 people, cousins, friends, co-workers, even Aunt Linda. She did not invite me, but I heard about it from 3 different cousins who texted me some variation of, "Are you really not coming to Victoria's housewarming?" She said you refused to support her. I didn't respond. Margaret called Friday afternoon. "I heard about the party. I need you to understand something. Your sister is creating a narrative. She's going to use that party to solidify the story that she owns this house, that all these people witnessed her ownership, and that you're the aggressor. It's a public relations move. What should I do?" "Nothing. Stay away. Don't engage. We have the deed, the contract, the payment records. The truth is on our side, and on Monday morning, a judge will see that." I listened to her advice for about 6 hours. Then Saturday afternoon, I made a decision that Margaret would later call legally risky, but emotionally satisfying. I called the realtor who'd sold me the house, Tom Hendricks, a guy I'd worked with before on other properties. Good guy, very professional, kept detailed records. "Tom, I need a favor. Can you meet me at the Oak Park property tomorrow at 7 p.m.? Bring the original purchase documents and any paperwork showing that I bought the house." He hesitated. "Caroline, what's going on?" "My sister is throwing a party at a house I own, telling everyone she owns it. I need you to walk in during that party and make it very clear who the actual owner is." Silence on the line. Then, that's pretty bold. "Can you do it?" "What's in it for me?" "I'll give you exclusive listing rights when I sell it after the eviction goes through. $300,000 property? You'll make a good commission." He laughed. "You know what? I've dealt with your sister before. She was rude as hell during the showings. I'm in." Saturday evening, I parked 2 blocks away from the house. I wasn't going to the party, but I wanted to be close enough to see the aftermath. At 7:15 p.m., Tom texted me. "I'm walking in now. This should be interesting." I waited. My phone started ringing at 7:23 p.m. Victoria. I didn't answer. She called 6 more times in 3 minutes. Then the texts started flooding in. "What the hell did you do? You ruined everything. Everyone is leaving. I hate you." Aunt Linda called me. "Caroline Marie Mitchell, what on earth is happening at that house? Tom Hendricks just walked in with eviction papers and told everyone that you own the property." I kept my voice calm. "Because I do own it, Aunt Linda. I have the deed. Victoria's been lying to everyone." Comment karma. If you're loving this moment. Aunt Linda went quiet, then. "She's crying. Everyone's confused. People are leaving. Caroline, this is cruel." "What's cruel is lying about owning something that isn't yours and throwing a party to celebrate that lie." I hung up. Tom called me at 7:45 p.m. I could hear shouting in the background. "Caroline, I did what you asked." I walked in, asked for Victoria, introduced myself as the realtor who handled the sale, and presented the documents showing you as the sole purchaser and deed holder. Then I handed her the eviction notice that her lawyer received last week. Just for good measure. How did she react? She completely melted down, started screaming that I was lying, that you'd forged documents, that this was a setup. Her friends looked confused. Some guy, I think he was her lawyer friend or something, asked to see the deed. I showed him. He got really quiet and left without saying anything. I heard Victoria's voice in the background, shrill and desperate. "He's lying. This is my house. Caroline tricked me." Tom continued. "Most people have left. A few are still here trying to calm her down. But Caroline, she's telling everyone you conspired to embarrass her, that you sent me here to ruin her party out of jealousy. Let her tell them whatever she wants. What matters is they all know now who actually owns that house." After I hung up with Tom, I sat in my car for another hour. My phone was a constant vibration of texts and calls. I ignored all of them except one, a text from my cousin Rachel, who I'd always been close with. "Caroline, I'm at Victoria's party. Or what's left of it. I just saw the deed paperwork. She's been lying this whole time? You bought her this house?" I called Rachel back. She answered on the first ring. "Tell me everything," she said. I told her. The whole story. The cash purchase, the rent-to-own contract, the missed payments, the lies Victoria told the family, the social media posts, the GoFundMe. Rachel was silent for a long moment. Then, "Jesus Christ. Caroline, I've been defending her. I texted you a month ago calling you heartless. She showed us Instagram posts about how you were trying to take her house out of jealousy." "I know. Why didn't you tell us the truth? Would you have believed me? Or would you have believed the sister with the sympathetic Instagram posts and the victim story?" Rachel didn't answer that. "Where is she now?" I asked. "Locked in the bedroom. A few of her close friends are still here, but most people left." "Caroline, this is bad. She's completely unraveling. She's talking about going to the media, about suing you for defamation, about how you've destroyed her life. Her court date is Monday morning. She's about to find out exactly how much legal standing she doesn't have. What do you want to happen here?" I thought about that question. What did I want? An apology? Restitution? For Victoria to admit she'd lied and manipulated everyone? "I want her out of my house," I said. "I want the money she owes me. And I want her to stop lying about what happened." Rachel sighed. "She's not going to stop. You know that, right? Even after court, even after she loses, she's going to keep playing the victim." Share this video if you've ever dealt with someone who refused to accept reality. "Then that's her choice," I said. "But she'll be doing it from somewhere else." Monday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that comes after a storm. I met Margaret at the courthouse at 8:30 a.m. Victoria arrived at 8:55 a.m. with her lawyer Derek Paulson, looking exhausted and defiant. She wouldn't look at me. The hearing started at 9 a.m. Judge Patricia Moreno presiding. A no-nonsense woman in her 60s who'd reportedly handled thousands of eviction cases. Derek Paulson presented his case first. "Your Honor, this is a clear case of familial manipulation and predatory contract term. My client was coerced into signing an agreement that heavily favored her sister, who used her superior knowledge of real estate to exploit Miss Mitchell's lack of experience. Furthermore, the eviction is retaliatory in nature, stemming from personal family disputes rather than legitimate breach of contract." Judge Moreno looked unimpressed. "Do you have evidence of coercion?" "My client's testimony, Your Honor. She'll testify that her sister pressured her into signing without proper legal counsel." "Did your client have the opportunity to seek legal counsel before signing?" Paulson hesitated. "The contract was presented as a family agreement, Your Honor. My client trusted her sister." "That's not what I asked. Could she have sought legal counsel?" "Technically, yes, but—" "Then she chose not to. Continue." Margaret stood next. "Your Honor, the facts are straightforward. My client purchased a property for $315,000 in cash. The deed is in her name, exclusively. She allowed her sister to live there under a generous rent-to-own contract that required $2,000 monthly payment for 5 years, after which ownership would transfer. The defendant has failed to make timely payments for 6 consecutive months and completely defaulted for the past 2 months. We're seeking eviction for non-payment and back rent, totaling $33,000. She submitted the deed, the purchase documents, the contract with Victoria's signature, bank statements showing my purchase of the property, and detailed payment records showing Victoria's defaults. Judge Moreno reviewed everything silently for 4 minutes. Then she looked at Victoria. "Miss Mitchell, did you sign this contract?" Victoria's voice was small. "Yes, but I didn't understand." "Did you read it before signing?" "Yes, but my sister said—" "What does line 14 of the contract state?" Victoria fumbled with her copy. It says the property remains in Caroline's name until all payment obligations are fulfilled." "And did you fulfill your payment obligations?" Silence. "Miss Mitchell, did you fulfill your payment obligations as outlined in the contract?" "I tried, but—" "Yes or no?" "No." Barely a whisper. Judge Moreno set down the papers. "This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Miss Caroline Mitchell is the sole legal owner of the property located at 847 Elmwood Avenue, Oak Park. The defendant, Miss Victoria Mitchell, is ordered to vacate the property within 14 days. The defendant is also ordered to pay back rent in the amount of $33,000, payable immediately or through a payment plan to be arranged with the plaintiff's attorney. The gavel came down. Victoria stood up, her voice rising. "This isn't fair. She manipulated me. She's my sister." Judge Moreno's expression didn't change. "Then perhaps you should have honored your agreement with your sister. We're adjourned. Type justice if you believe the right person won." Victoria's lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head violently, then turned and walked out of the courtroom. She still wouldn't look at me. Victoria didn't vacate in 14 days. She stayed in the house for 22 days until the sheriff's department physically removed her belongings and changed the locks. I wasn't there for it. Margaret handled everything. The GoFundMe was shut down after I reported it for fraud. The $8,000 she'd raised had to be returned to donors. Her Instagram post about the eviction got reported by enough people that it was taken down for misinformation. She moved in with a friend in Logan Square. According to Aunt Linda, she was devastated and traumatized by my cruelty. I sold the house 6 weeks later for $348,000. After Margaret's fees, the sheriff's costs, and repairs for damage Victoria had done to the property out of spite, she'd punched holes in 3 walls and deliberately stained the carpet. I netted about $29,000. Victoria never paid the $33,000 she owed me. I could have pursued wage garnishment, but Margaret advised it would cost more in legal fees than I'd likely collect. I let it go. 2 months after the eviction, Victoria sent me a single text message. "I hope you're happy. You destroyed your own sister for money. Mom and Dad would be ashamed of you." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, "Mom and Dad taught us to honor our commitments and tell the truth. I bought you a house and gave you the most generous terms possible. You lied to everyone about owning it, threw a party to celebrate something that wasn't yours, and refused to pay what you owed. I'm not ashamed, but you should be." She never responded. Our extended family divided. Some believed Victoria's version, that I'd somehow tricked her, that I was greedy, that I'd destroyed her dreams. Others, once they saw the actual documents and timeline, understood what had really happened. Rachel became one of my closest allies. She publicly called out Victoria's lies on Facebook, which caused its own family drama. But I appreciated someone finally standing up for the truth. Aunt Linda eventually apologized to me. She said Victoria had shown her a fake contract, different from the real one, and that she'd believed Victoria was the victim. When she saw the real paperwork, she was horrified. As for Victoria, last I heard, she's still in Logan Square, still working in social media marketing. Her Instagram is private now. She blocked me everywhere. Sometimes I wonder if she'll ever understand what she did wrong, if she'll ever admit that she lied, manipulated, and betrayed my trust, if she'll ever acknowledge that I was trying to help her, and she threw it all away. Probably not. Some people will always be the victim in their own story, no matter what the facts say. I don't regret what I did. Not the purchase, not the contract, not the eviction, not hiring Margaret, and especially not sending Tom to that party. My only regret is believing she'd be grateful for the opportunity I gave her, that she'd honor our agreement, that family loyalty meant something to her. But I learned an important lesson. Sometimes the most expensive thing you can buy someone is a favor they don't appreciate. And sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you tried hardest to help. If you made it this far, hit that like button right now. This story needs to reach people who've been manipulated by family members who play victim. Comment. Entitled, "If you've dealt with someone like Victoria who twisted the truth to make themselves look innocent." And subscribe because I share real stories about betrayal, justice, and what happens when people finally stop being silent about family manipulation. These stories matter, and your support helps them reach the people who need to hear them most. Thank you for listening to my story.